If I can bring my other guest, Neha Sharma, principal of GD Goenka School, Ghaziabad, into the discussion. Did the COVID-19 pandemic disrupt or dampen the spirits on Teachers' Day this year, or you think it was the enthusiasm was there for all to see?
There was a different kind of Teachers' Day celebrated this year, but the Teachers' Day celebration indeed was not the way it used to be live, face to face in years that were there. This time when the Teachers' Day was happening, initially when the plannings were started, so the children were all set to do it in a different way. They checked with us that whether we can do it virtually, we can do it online, and when they got a go-ahead from us, they were all very enthusiastically planning for something which even we couldn't imagine until it was showcased in front of us today. And honestly speaking, today when they have presented this Teachers' Day, nowhere can we kind of see that they were not able to do it really well, or because of COVID there was any sort of thing which they missed out upon. They did everything, they kind of converted everything to virtual mode. They danced, they sang, they gave us a lot of interesting titles, if I may say so. And yes, the videos, the PPTs, the graphical greetings, the virtual greetings have been pouring since morning, and this time it has been even more as compared to previous years. So children have really reinvented themselves, and they have made this Teachers' Day even more special for all of us.
Indeed. Now, if I were to ask you, how difficult was it for you and your colleagues in school in particular to adapt, to adjust to this so-called new normal? What did the stakeholders have to do about it? For instance, as you as a principal, teachers, students and parents as well.
Well, so here I definitely second to what Judge Jyoti Gupta ma'am said, and indeed this has become a new normal, and by now definitely teachers have more or less adjusted to the whole thing. But initial days were really tough. The teachers who were just using mobile phones for taking calls or calling up people were simply asked to use it as the tool. When lockdown happened, the online classes started all of a sudden, and they definitely were not having enough time to procure a proper device. So whatever was available at home became their tool, their mode of instruction on the online platform. Now when it happens, see, when we talk about teachers, we have got young blood in teaching profession,
right,
as well as we have got veterans, and the veterans who are kind of staying very away from technology even in their normal lives. For them this was much more of a challenge, and I must appreciate, and especially today on this very special occasion of Teachers' Day, that I think they are truly deserving a big applause for that matter, lot of appreciation for simply taking it up in such a beautiful, in such a wonderful manner that children were made so comfortable in the classroom that there was no so-called, if I may say, learning loss, or there was no learning gap which happened because of this lockdown thing. But the challenge is this: we are talking about places where devices were available.
Right.
There are parts of the country where the devices are not available. Even if devices are available, the net connectivity, internet became a very major kind of mode of transmitting the entire online class thing. The bandwidth availability, and then when all of a sudden the pressure came on the bandwidth, in our house if there are 4 children, I mean every child needed a device, every child had classes on the same time, so there was definitely a lot of struggle, a lot of complaints that were coming from the end of the parents. But then here I would definitely place on record and would just kind of bring in what just Jyoti ma'am said about Diksha platform.
Right.
So this initiative of MHRD, or sorry, I'll say now Ministry of Education, came in as a very, very helpful medium for all across the country, the teachers all across the country, and for the children as well. And we definitely got a lot of support from various programs which were relayed over the television and on the mobile phones and various platforms and websites. So this somehow helped in covering up whatever was the gap.
Right.
And this somehow definitely also helped teachers to become very, very tech savvy. And this they explored, they experimented, and the teachers were not even typing a regular mail on a regular basis are suddenly making videos, making PowerPoint presentations, and anything and everything that they can do to make children comfortable with this new kind of learning. So I think a lot of changes have happened in these couple of months, around 4 or 5 months, and teachers are indeed to be given all thumbs up for having adapted so well for this new normal.
Indeed, thumbs up to all the stakeholders, be they schools, teachers, students, or even parents for that matter. We have a fascinating conversation going on here, and I'll ask both my guests to stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. But for now, I will want to talk a bit more about this morning's ceremony. Now, the Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank said on the occasion that India has a rich and ancient tradition of the teacher-student relationship. He said that behind every successful disciple stands a teacher. Listen in. If I can come to you now, Neha Sharma, and before that, I want to cite two instances about two of the winners this year. A teacher by the name of Mr. Jain. He has innovated several teaching learning practices in the school by using school floors, walls and open spaces as tools for joyful learning. He has used the surrounding rocks and boulders as learning materials. Another teacher, one Mr. Ansari, he has put out more than 300 videos for use in the public domain, for use by other teachers and by the students of class 9 and 10. So if I were to ask you about innovation in education, has your school, for instance, taken any initiative in this regard?
You know, if we talk about innovation, we have to understand that we have to create learning spaces. We
Right.
cannot go by that same routine four-wall classroom concept anymore, because now we have humanoids like Sophie to take over in case we are just telling children the facts. So here I would like to bring in a small little story which is about Albert Einstein when he was being interviewed by a journalist. So this journalist asked him that what is the speed of sound? On this Einstein said, well, I don't know. And the journalist was taken aback. He said, you are such a great scientist and you don't even know the speed of sound. He said that, well, I don't burden my mind, my brain with facts. For that, we have books. So in schools, we have to create learning spaces. Coming back to the innovation thing, until and unless we innovate, we are not passing this message to the child that, see, think differently, think creatively, check what new can possibly be done. Every child in the classroom today is a 21st century child. So they were all born in this century, but the teachers, so to say, are from 20th century. And if they keep teaching them using the tools, the methodologies, the aspects which are more from the 19th century, the 18th century, definitely will not give them that real life experience which is required. Even more so, we have to also understand that classroom today are more dynamic. the kind of changes which are happening globally, if we are not equipping children with those changes right, we are not preparing them in the class, in the school itself, for sure there will be a misfit when they are out in the real world. And if we talk about, say, innovation, so I'll simply take this example of today's Teachers' Day, which children have put up virtually.
Right.
Now, if we talk about our IT, the computer classes, if you are simply teaching them text and then testing them and finally giving them a result with interesting grades, A, B, C, whatever, they for sure are not acquiring the kind of skills which are required to deal with technology. But in today's program, as we could see, I mean, most of the schools must have experienced this virtual Teachers' Day. They must have definitely seen children experimenting with technology with such ease, with such comfort, that it was surprising. I mean, be it creating those virtual certificates, be it making videos which were indeed a class apart. I really am thrilled to put on record that the technology, the finesse that was there in those videos, I think they were definitely a professional's work. So when they are doing things, they are learning better, and this is the learning which is going to stay with them.
Absolutely.
So innovation is something now the teachers also have to understand, that until and unless they bring in something new in their class, the child is not going to, as it is, if we talk about today's generation, their attention span is lesser than of that of a goldfish, which is technically of 7 to 8 seconds.
Right.
So now if you are not able to take them, by whatever you are bringing to the class, if you are not able to take their attention towards your whatever you are teaching, whichever way you are teaching, for sure they are not going to stay interested in whatever learning you are trying to share with them, whatever you want them to learn. Also, this is the time when teachers have to kind of understand that their roles have altogether changed. They are no longer teachers, they have to be co-learners.
Absolutely.
They have to be co-creator of learning with the students, because many things even teachers won't be knowing. So there they have to take this very humbly.
Absolutely.
And
so as you say,
from the
Neha
child,
Sharma,
the child is able
teachers
to give them
should be
for example,
co-learners as well. And as Jyoti Gupta said before, that the teachers cannot any longer be seen as the sage on the stage. I'm running out of time, so very quickly, if I can go across to Neha Sharma one last time on the discussion. Your thoughts on the education policy, specifically in terms of the emphasis on curbing rote learning, encouraging critical thinking, scientific temperament, and as Jyoti Gupta said, teacher training in particular. Neha Sharma, very quickly, your thoughts.
Right. So I think it's a very well-crafted policy, and which definitely lays lots of emphasis in bringing in the thinking skills. The thinking skills are essential if we want to really want a progressive country, a progressive India. And the most beautiful thing that I like about this policy is that it talks very strongly and very clearly about India, Bharat. So bringing in those values and also touching upon, say, if we talk about our heritage, we belong to a country which was already having richness in terms of science, innovation. Pick a field and we were at the top, if I may say. I mean, we were just the leaders in every sphere. So we have to, in case we want to bring that glory back, we have to ensure that we nurture more innovators, more inventors, more discoverers in our classroom, and we should not shy away from learning newer things. If we talk about learning, there's no end to learning, and there are so many newer domains that we are yet to explore. So I think this policy is very flexible, and it gives the teacher the liberty to explore a lot more beyond the regular textbook.
Indeed, so there is no
And
end to
also,
learning, says
it gives them
Neha
opportunity
Sharma.
to learn
On that note, I want
and
to thank
grow.
both my guests, Jyoti Gupta and Neha Sharma, for sharing their insights on this occasion of Teachers' Day. Thank you both for sharing time and making time to be on DD India and sharing your insights with our viewers in India and around the world. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.